Welcome to Captain Rap's first podcast. This is exciting. This is where all the gossip's going to happen. This is all the live stuff. What's happening in the background? This is you and me talking about a side hustle. This is really exciting.
Awesome. It is.
So it's, for those of you who have just joined, CaptainRap.com is an online resource for you to find presents that you might otherwise struggle with if you are the person like me, absolutely hate finding a present, even for wife, children, mothers, grandmothers. Yeah, you always run out of ideas. So that's where we are now. But, why we're actually talking today is perhaps the reason and the story why we came to create such a tool. I suppose really out of a desire to make something happen. And, everybody works a job. Everybody has cash to bring in, but that kind of experience of creating something of our own, and I think the modern term is side hustle. So hopefully we can share a little bit of kind of the pains and trials, tribulations of going from coming up with an idea, figuring out how we can make it work alongside our existing jobs, and bit by bit by bit extricate ourselves from our current situations and dedicate a whole load of time, love, effort, passion to Captain Rap. Maarten, what have we been doing? Why are we here?
A good question, Alex. It's really, first of all, really fun to do this first podcast. Never done this in my life, so let's see what it's going to bring us. I'm really excited about it, doing it together. I mean, we've been knowing each other for 15 years or more or less. So,
who are you, by the way?
Who am
I actually speaking to? Who are you?
I'm this Dutch guy who lives in the beautiful Haarlem. I don't know if the listeners. Let's see, we have a few know with it. It's close to Amsterdam. Very excited about this venture that we are on together. It's you, it's me, and then obviously we have our secretive CTO. We'll dive into to him in a moment. So about me. I've 2 young kids. I live in the beautiful city of Haarlem. I have a background in marketing, in project management, communication. You as well, background in sports management. I mean, we've done a master's together, sport management.
More management than sport, I think, for me.
Yeah, definitely for you. Sport is a little bit bigger for me in my life than yours, I guess. And always, like the last many years, I've really been into the business of IT. It's really cool to coming from a corporate organization, now diving into something that we're starting with the 3 of us. So literally nobody knows about us, never heard about us. We had an idea. How do we bring that alive? I mean, it's such an interesting journey to be on. We're literally at the beginning. I think Instagram, we have 20 followers by now. So, I mean,
come on,
we
guys.
have 20 followers already.
Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, guys.
What about you, Alex?
Gosh, I usually answer that question with something like, it's a patchwork career. I describe myself as having 2 CVs, one that is perhaps more professional and corporate, one that is maybe a little bit more fun, because, as you knew, when I was 18, I trained as a chef, and catering and sort of hospitality has always been a big part of my life and my passion and what drives me. So, to be honest, I think it's going to be quite interesting how that flows in, that the hospitality element of taking care of people, finding exactly the right thing that speaks to somebody in a particular moment, and that gives a great customer experience. Like, if there's anywhere where you learn customer experience, it's, serving food to people, right? But so the other side has been, I want to say corporate sales, but mainly in smaller startups. So I've been in ad tech, I've been in kind of interior design software, I've messed about with a payment platform for charities in the UK, and obviously before that I had my own catering business as well, which, believe it or not, you have to sell for. You have to get people into the venues, you have to sell tickets. So that's my kind of background. Personally, I've got 2 kids, 2 wonderful girls. I'm married to my fantastic wife, Felicity, and we live not in the Netherlands, not yet, maybe one day. Watch this space.
Fingers crossed.
I've been saying this for 15 years now. But we live in a place I live in a place called Little Snoring, which is not too far from Holland. If I had a plane that I could fly direct, it's just across the water in Norfolk. But yeah, I guess we're very happy here. It's quiet, it's rural, but yeah. From my study in my office, so many emails have been sent, so many crazy ideas have been generated, and Captain Wrap is now one of them. So yeah, like, what's been the challenge for you, do you think, in creating this whole venture?
Yeah.
Maybe it's personal, maybe it's technical, maybe it's whatever, time wise, logistics. And I'm sure a lot of people out there will be really keen to know how people manage to balance all of that.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And before we dive into that question, maybe it's also good to introduce the third person part of the team. And the reason for it is, well, we are really a team of three. And the answer to your question, what has been the biggest struggle, I think it definitely relates to something that he's helping us with. So yeah, we call him the secretive CTO, Captain Wrap. That's actually how we came up with the name Captain Wrap. So he's really good at coding. He works at a corporate. That sounds really bad in a way, but I think with his experience, he brings so much to the table, so much added value, not only from a coding perspective, but really like, where do we want to go? What's the direction that we want to take? There's a reason for it that he doesn't want to be named yet. We hope to have him on the podcast one day. In the preparation, we spoke about this. We're going to keep our fingers crossed to get him on the podcast. But yeah, for now, he likes to remain secret with his helmet on and works in the background and producing a lot of amazing stuff. Anything you want to add about Captain Wrap?
I love spending time with him. We've obviously spent a lot of time individually, collectively. Yeah, I can't wait for him to come out of stealth mode. But in the meantime, I suppose, yeah, we're now at a point where really over the space of 8 months? 9 months, we've moved from going, hey, you know what, back 7, 8 years ago, we had this great idea of creating an app that people could run around cities with and do like little tours and answer questions. And, the idealism of youth was there, and we thought, ain't it a great idea? Everybody's going to want to use this. But actually, having families and needing to earn money in the background, I suppose we set the bar quite high in terms of what we wanted to put out there all those years ago. And it would have been a lot of creative and, curation effort and, walking around different places, figuring out what questions to ask. And that becomes unmanageable. But yeah, I suppose we all had the little bug going, we love this idea of setting something up that is going to be cool. And I don't remember how we came up with presents.
I do remember. So maybe, maybe to go a little bit back, I remember being at your place for a couple of days, and we had some beers and a little glass of whiskey, a nice walk, and we really talked about, it's really nice to be with a bunch of friends that you feel like you connect with, I'd say on a deeper level. Also to say, I think you have always a few amount of people in your life. If you already have those people that you say, if I ever want to run a business or start a business, these are the guys I want, or girls that I want to do it with. And I think you and Captain Wrap, let's call him that, are definitely for me 2 guys that I felt like always like I want to run a business. And I think we've been saying this since we started studying in when was it? 2009. We first picked up the old idea from a couple of years ago, and we really decided, can we now, with the experience that we have, we're like 6-7 years further than what we were at that time, a lot more experience, can we build up on that? And I think the outcome was that we really took a dive into we started thinking about, how do we build it, what do we want to achieve, what's the target audience, this case behind it. And even though I think you always need to go out there, the end conclusion was, if we want to scale it this way, that we think now this would be a valuable product, it would require so much time to come even to an MVP, a minimal viable product. We're going to talk about that later on in this podcast. And also the business case was quite difficult because the target audience was museums, and we don't feel that there was enough meat on the bone to really make what we had the ambition for in relation to also getting the financials that would be needed to there. From that moment, I think it was really good because for a couple of months we've been discussing what can we do and how should we, and we worked on things and we became very creative. But I think it was really good that we decided in the end, guys, is this about this project, or is it more about that we want to work together and that we come to, start really working on a project that we feel is feasible? And then we said, no, it's not about this specific project. It's more about the experience, running it together, doing it together. So that is when we went back. And I remember I asked everyone in the group, okay, I'm challenging you for this week. Look at your life and things that you come across that annoy you, that upset you, that you think, okay, I could arrange this smarter. And I think everybody came back with a list. Some things were really interesting, some things were not at all. And I believe I came back with, because I had this huge frustration with, I had to buy a present, and I've been struggling with it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was thinking, what do I need to buy?
What are those struggles? Like, why do you struggle with it?
Oh man, I know I need to buy a present, and I don't want to go, like, when I buy for friends, I always bring beer or wine. It's like, it's so easy. And
you know me so well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a safe gift. It's definitely a safe gift, and you can come with flowers and these kind of things. But I think it was related to my dad, who's unfortunately diabetic. Diabetic. And in the past, I could always buy him chocolates, wine, beers, like the good stuff. But unfortunately, nowadays he's not. It's not something that he appreciates that much anymore. I was really struggling. What do I need to buy for my dad? And then obviously I can ask him, what do you want? But then most of the times I got back, I don't know, just get me something nice, And
great,
dude. So that's where I think it was really around that time. And then I brought it to the group, and like you and Captain Rep both said, like, wow, this is definitely something I struggle with. So yeah, that's the moment that we picked him on. And am I right? Like, do you remember?
No, 100%. I mean, I don't remember the exact, whether it was in person or whether it was an online conversation, but it was, I mean, there'd always been something going on. And I think you told me that you'd got together for a few beers with Captain Rap, and we're like, it wasn't just a few beers. Like, we had a lot of beer, and in the alcoholic emotional outburst, then it came to the forefront that, there was still a flame to do something constructive. And then, you contacted me and said, what should we do? Yeah, I really like the idea of presence, because it's kind of, most of the stuff that I've sold is business to business, and it hasn't really been an e-commerce based project. So the idea of kind of, well, what if there's a website where presents are recommended based on, that new cool thing called AI that doesn't just run very binary searches, like you can actually put a bit of intelligence behind it. And that seems kind of interesting. And what if we do sell something to thousands and thousands and millions of people? Could it be really interesting? And obviously, I think our research showed that, there are companies out there or websites out there that do something very similar. Maybe some do more of one element, maybe some cater more to kind of the secret Santa market. The question remains, like, how do you do this like quite authentically? And everybody's doing AI at the moment. It's like, whatever, when the internet first exploded, like everybody had to have a .com website. Like people that didn't even need websites were having websites, right? So how do we make this relevant? How do we make it interesting, easy to use? And these are really interesting questions that I'm sure in your employment you've dealt with, how to make a product relevant to people. I've dealt with like, how do I make, whatever, digital advertising relevant to my audience, both when I'm selling the product to the companies that want to advertise, and then kind of seeing from them how they're making their advertising relevant to their end consumers. And there's a lot of crossover there. But it's just a really interesting and I think the cool thing is that we've spent time together, and maybe this is like a little bit of, wisdom. wisdom alert for those setting up a business together. You cannot do it 100% online. You have to get together. Like, you have to go and have a beer. We went out for that wonderful Indonesian meal in Harlem together, and just the conversations that, it evolves. You build trust. And I think that, you really start discovering what are people good at? What are the individual players good at? But then the conversations, like the important, like, put business and put AI and all that aside, the stuff that we were talking about in terms of like mental health and, dealing with challenges in our families, in work, etc. Like, that's very enriching. And you get that understanding why companies take it really seriously. And I think, there are only 3 of us now, but maybe in 3-4 years, there's 20, 30, 40 employees. How do we look after them? That's a big responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that I'm going into that with 3 guys who share a similar care for each other, that's meaningful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. It is really important to have that connection. And I also feel like if you're in starting a business, obviously there must always be a reason behind why do you want to start a business. But I don't think that the main reason is I want to be super rich. Then it's really difficult, because I think if you look at us, why are we doing this? It's a side hustle. It's definitely not a main source of income at all, because at the moment it's 0. Let's be honest. It is really the thrive of working on something together. If it is I'm really thriving as well on what we're doing right now. The last couple of days, we've launched for the first time some videos. It was the first time really putting our faces out like that, editing, doing stuff, trying stuff. You do some things, do you think, wow, this is good? You create something, you share it with the team, and the team says, Guy, me,
it's rubbish.
How are you doing? It's rubbish. And being open, and also at the same time, and this is really what I love. And I think this is a very important point, is we also say, okay, we don't know, maybe it's not so good, but let's try. Let's put it out there. Let's see what it does. It will pick up traction, will not pick up traction. It doesn't matter. We need to try. We need to learn. We are all new to this, what we're doing. That's why we also said to this podcast, let's give it a go. We've never done it before. We actually, a couple of hours ago, looked into programs to use, and we just go. And I think...
guys, just do it. There's stuff out there.
But I think that's when you run a startup, let's enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. And if you do, just go out there. Don't be a perfectionist. The preparation for this podcast was like maybe 5 minutes. Okay, these are a couple of topics that we can address for the first episode. And we just have a chat. Like, it's too early in the day for a beer, but, next time we could have a beer next to it. So I think... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my question is, what can viewers expect of this channel in terms of the content we put out and how we talk about stuff? But secondly, like, what can they expect from CaptainWrap.com?
Good question. So I think from this channel and related to Captain Wrap, we really want to share the journey that we're on. So what do we come across? Like, what mistakes do we make? What lessons do we learn? Of course, we want to share successes, and success could be, we see a huge spike in visitors to our site and usage and people using the product and buying products via our site, which results into income via the affiliate programs. But it could also mean that Captain Wrap is launching a new feature that we've been building on. It's definitely mistakes, things that we've tried and where we go wrong, or when we miscalculated a couple of things. Yeah, so that's really what we want to share with this podcast. Then when it comes down to Captain Wrap, it's really a tool. Our goal is to make gift giving easier and more fun. And I really hope that we can achieve that. And what I feel is like we can't do this alone in the sense of it's the 3 of us, we're building it, we're thinking about it, but we need user feedback. So listeners, if you have any feedback, let us know via DMs or comments, or send us an email at info@captainwrap.com. Go ahead. We love to hear, because
invite us for a Google Meet. Invite us for a Zoom chat.
Yeah.
If you haven't spoken to anybody in a while, just book a meeting. We'll talk about presents. we'll talk about whatever you want to talk to. And I think we've spoken about this now over the last week, and the observation has been, yes, people put out so much content, and I think it's really great that people are being encouraged to put out content, but I think one can sort of fall into that trap of, I've got to put out really punchy short form content, and I've got to somehow put it through CapCut and make sure it fits a certain format. And while I think that has a huge value, like, I hope that what underpins this podcast and the pieces of content that come from it is that we leverage authenticity and these real struggles. You know, what's been one of the struggles this week? Well, we've put videos out, but, you know, have as many people clicked on them as we really hoped? I'd love to say so, but, you know, let's not be that arrogant, right? There's a lot of content grabbing for people's attention, right?
Definitely. No, and I think, like, earlier on, you asked, like, what was the, like, one struggle for you or in the process, and I think one thing that we're seeing right now, right? It's kind of two ways. We building the product and getting the product out there. You know, if you got it, like, if you bring it down to two basic elements, building the product and bringing the product out. So for a long time, it was building the product, and we could not really work on the marketing side because we didn't know what the product was going to look like and how it was going to work. And I think the first thing I remember sitting down together, you guys came to my place and we sat down and we said, okay, we're going to work on this. But we still had no clue, first of all, what it was going to look like. But even more important, is it really going to work? Because we need to work with API integrations. Are they available, eligible for affiliate programs? Is it possible with Google? Is it, you know, so many technical questions that we had.
What countries are we going to be launching in? You know, if we're doing with an API, should it be the Netherlands? Should it be the UK? Wherever. There's so many options there.
What language are we going to use? Like, so many questions that you start with. But I think it came really down to the first question: can we make it work? And that's why, yes, I think if you look at the look and feel, and if you compare us to other competitors, I think we're not in a bad shape. But I would definitely say that we are not happy at the moment with the look and feel and the complete branding of CaptainRep.com. But
that's okay.
That's okay. We've really tested, can we get the product to work? And I mean, that was the first real struggle is okay, we want people to be able to tell us about the interest of the person that they're buying for. But how do you do that? I mean, you can let them write a whole essay about it, but people don't want to do that. So how can you make that fun? How can you grab that piece and put it onto a website and make it easy and nicely work for people? Then can you, if you have that interest, create something that also gives an output that reflects what people put in? I mean, that was the second struggle, and so we've been updating in the code quite a bit to reflect this as well. Like, for example, we've noticed that if you put very few things in, the results were better in the beginning than when you would put a lot of things in. While it should be the opposite, because if we know more about the person that you're buying for, we should be able to give better results. And that whole struggle, getting the product, prioritizing, maybe that's something that we can talk about as well. I found that so cool and a struggle at the same time. What about you, Alex? Do you have something that comes to mind that was the big struggle for you in the last couple of months?
Well, as you know, like, for me, kind of finances have been quite tough and tight. So I've had quite a few jobs over the last 6 months, you know, having to, you know, work them all together. So kind of that, I'm very happy where we are today, because I knew that just diligently sticking the course, and even when the weather's hard, and that goes back to having to, you know, working with people that you are mentally on the same wavelength with, that understand, right, Alex is going through this at the moment, right, he's probably not going to be on the chat as much, right, Maarten's going through this, Captain Rap is going to be going through something else at the moment. And I found myself over the last 6 months in a situation of, can do this doesn't seem miles away from what I thought I could achieve. So the struggle of making time has been overcome by tools and consistent, just like, let's do a little bit now, let's do a little bit. this morning, right? We're on this podcast. 3 hours ago, we weren't going to make a podcast. We've downloaded the tool. You just said, well, let's just do it. Use momentum, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think really important element there is, help each other. And when I say help each other, I remember that Captain Rep built something and he's been working on it for days. Giving the recognition by sharing his enthusiasm. Yeah. I fixed this, right? Literally, I don't know about you, but I didn't understand almost anything I think he left a voice message. I didn't understand anything what he explained, but there was so much enthusiasm. And he said, okay, guys, I think he closed, okay, guys, I've been rattling on for a couple of minutes. I shared what this is. I don't think you guys understand. I just want to say I've been working on this for 2 days and I fixed it. And, obviously we were excited about it because apparently it was really important. And I think at the same time, we've had a couple of things from the marketing side that he also said, like, sounds good, guys. I have no clue, but you seem enthusiastic and this is important. Okay, I'm happy, and I think it's really just a short note. If someone produces a video, for example, that just say, hey, yes, nice, well done.
Don't underestimate the reaction emojis, right? Just to give someone that bit of feedback. However, interestingly, that cross-fertilization between Captain Rap is not exclusively a programmer and a coder, right? He works for a company that is known for storytelling and, making stuff very engaging for a particular audience. And that comes through, right? The fact that he said, actually, do you know what? The marketing content and the video content is not as authentic as it perhaps should be. We should be telling the story as it is, as opposed to giving this smoke and mirrors impression that we're amazing and wonderful. I've worked for companies like that. It works for a while, but eventually, like, what's the product like?
Yeah.
You deliver good customer service. Are you honest when you make mistakes? But Captain Rap, you're watching this. I know you've had more impact on marketing than you think you ever knew.
Yeah, but it is a team effort. It is really a team effort, and challenging each other and saying, hey, is this really what we want? And I think at the same time, we are doing that as well with the website. When sometimes he's building something and then we say, does it really feel with what we want to bring to the customers and what we feel that we need? And then you take deep dives together, you have discussions, and that's where I'm also learning as well. If someone criticizes your work, it's not criticizing because we want to criticize you as a person, or we're not saying that you did an awful job or something. No, it's really to discuss, like, how can we make it better? How can we learn from it? And I think that's really the mindset that we need to have is okay, you want to put something out there. We want to be, as best as we can. You need to try stuff. We accept that we try stuff. We can also be critical and say, hey, next time focus on, maybe take this into account or think along that way. I think that's super important, that you are able to be brutally honest with each other without being negative towards each other, or also understanding that someone might have put hours and hours or days of work into something, and that we, as a team, we say, it's not really it.
Because also the stuff that we put out, whether that's a part of the actual product itself, or whether that's any marketing materials, it's a product of the three of us working together. So if one person hasn't done as good a job as the collective had hoped for, well, how can the collective make it better? What should have the collective flowed into that in the first instance? It's a really healthy experience, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think, like, two things very concrete come to mind is, like, to start off with something that I've done. I've started created some videos, like a video. And I worked like hours on this, and I sent it to you, and I was like, what do you guys think? And then the feedback was negative.
I know you've been cutting out those strips of paper.
Yeah, but
guys, if anybody wants to see this video, we'll put it out there when we hit 1,000 subscribers.
Sounds like a plan. So this video it had a lot of what do you call it? Like the video stock. So free videos. Sorry.
Oh, stock footage.
Yeah, stock videos. Stock footage. And so I used that to tell the story about who we are and what we want to do. And the best thing was that this meant that we came back to, is this what we want to do? Is this the approach that we want to take? And then 100%. And the discussion led into, no, this is not what we want to do. We really want to focus on our phases, our story, the true story behind it. And that's what we're seeing with the video side, is really sometimes you need to do something to see this is not what we want. And it leads into a new direction. It creates a helicopter view about where do you want to go. And I think the same last night, we had a discussion about a feature that we are trying to implement. And Captain Rep was writing, I'm thinking about, can we do this, and what do you guys think? And then because he stated the question, it started in my mind. I started thinking, but if you say this, then I think we should go. My original thought was to go a certain direction. But now that you stated, maybe we should go a different direction. But if we take one of the directions that you are thinking, that means that we are gonna, sorry, talking so vague, but taking one specific piece, create a whole branding around it, like the look and feel for one very specific thing. Why should we do that? No, if we should leave it as it is right now, we're not going to do anything specific around it. But what we're going to do, at some point, we're going to do the whole look and feel, and then we take it with us, because otherwise you spend too much time on one thing. And the discussion here is so valuable because you challenge each other, and you challenge the time that Captain Rep spends on something, because he has only 24 hours in a day, and it's a side hustle. So how many hours in a week can he really spend? And you want those hours to be as productive as possible too.
And let's not forget, like there's no playbook for starting this. Like you said, we should be doing this, we should be doing this. Well, says who? Like, who wrote the rule book on how to build a site called CaptainWrap.com? And specifically, who built the rule book for Captain Wrap, Maarten, and Alex, and their dynamic? I really feel that, if you're watching this, feel encouraged to work in the time that suits you, have the conversations, and, you can always circle back to stuff. I mean, that's the great thing of like using tools like Trello. You're just able to park stuff, come back to it, tick it, have the conversations there as it happens, and the product will come because you're moving forward. Every conversation, even if it's a negative one, will result in some sort of action or result.
I agree. One thing that we are doing, that we started doing a couple of months ago, is like a weekly meetup. So every Thursday, with some exceptions that we move the date because we need to be flexible. But let's say every Thursday, that's when we come together. That's when we meet and we really discuss what are we going to do this week. And I really love that we set priority like sprints for a week. That's what we're going to deliver on. And then sometimes we have bigger discussions. We really take one specific piece and where do we want to go and take it from a helicopter view. But you don't need to do this week in, week out. Sometimes the meeting can just be 20, 25 minutes. What do we do? What did we complete? Kind of applause for the person who did it. What's the priority for this week? And anything else? No? Okay, let's go.
So as we come to the end of this first podcast, and thank you to our viewers and those who are watching it subsequently sticking with us. We're now at a point where I suppose some might say we have an MVP, a minimum viable product, and that we've shipped it out to market. Maybe just share your thoughts on that. What is an MVP? Does one need an MVP? What does it look like for us?
Yeah, so in my opinion, MVP is really important, minimal viable product. And with that, it's like the first minimum product that you create and to bring it out to market. So a challenge sometimes, right, as a startup, and we've been there in the past before. I've been there in the past, that you continue building because the product is just not ready. I think sales is also, having worked in sales as well, the product is really good, but we're missing this feature and therefore I can't sell it, and that's also a way when launching a product. It's like really easy to say, no, we need to add this and this and this and this. So in our case, yes, we could add wish lists. We could add different languages. Yes, we could add, but we could also just say, this is what we have right now, and let's start getting feedback. Let's start getting the first traction, because it's not that we're going to launch, nobody knows us, and millions of people start using us. We need to slowly build that as well. And what we've done is, so the first moment that our product was functioning, but we could not make any money because there was no affiliate program connected. And if we would get a lot of traction, it would have cost us like a lot of money because of the way it was built. But it was just, can we build it? And when we did that, we sent it to friends and family to get feedback. And that's, I think, two things happened. First of all, we got the confirmation that, okay, we believed that this was a valuable product, but we got the confirmation from friends and family who said, yes, this is cool, it works. I got like, out of the results that I got, like the 10 results, like 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 things that I would buy for myself. Very often they were filling it out for themselves, or for my boyfriend, girlfriend, daughter, whatever you want to name it. So we got the confirmation that the product worked and that people liked using it. So that was one. And second of all, we encountered some bugs that we could also then easily fix. So I'd say getting out there as soon as possible is really, really important. I mean, we've been there together in the past, like the project that we spoke about earlier. We've tested it once, we got a lot of feedback, and then we kept building up until a point that we said, okay, now let's can't combine it anymore. Yeah, it took so long that it also took all the energy out of the project. And for us, I think it's really, really important to just get out there, get the feedback. Everyone listening here, if you have any feedback, please share, because for us, it's super, super important.
And I think I would throw just a further component into it. Our Captain Rap, the secretive CEO, we had a meeting, a couple of weeks ago, where he just said, we've been working on this for so long, and we've put a lot of effort and time and thought into it. Like, are we actually going to go anywhere with it? Because if we're not, or if we're still going to keep pushing and finally adding on an extra feature, that is the MVP, we might as well stop now. So that kind of emotional, mental boost to either go, no go, I think one shouldn't underestimate. And, maybe this is slightly controversial, but the product is always going to get better, right? So you'll start adding on, let's say, wish lists. Well, then that particular iteration of the wish list will be an MVP. Then you're going to improve that. Then we're going to add another feature. So, of course, it's always going to evolve, and you shouldn't, like you say, you shouldn't be afraid of just throwing something out, seeing what comes back, because you always have the opportunity to make it A, better, and B, no one else is doing it, right? If you're starting and launching a product that you're an expert at, that you're really passionate about, you deserve all the points because you're going out and doing it. So, I hope that's encouraging as well.
But that's the thing, right? 10% of a success is fine, or coming up with the idea, and 90% is the execution. And if you always continue building but never put it out there, then you kind of stay in the 10%. So I think that's where we are right now as well. We go out, so at least we are beyond the 10%. I mean, we're not making any money yet, so but at least we have 15% of the.
We know it can make money.
Nothing. So and again, it's not about making the money. It's really about the process, the ride. In the months that we've been working, so many learnings, and also since we are live and sharing it with people, I get like this weekend, my brother said, "Hey guys, if you go via Instagram to your site and on the small phone of my wife, then some words are cut because the screen is too small." It's such a small thing. So we sent it to Captain Rap, and a day later it was fixed. So going out there, getting that feedback, it just makes the product better. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So maybe that's a topic for another podcast: how to capture feedback really quickly and well. Because there's so much that, no matter how much we test ourselves, that you give to a whole bunch of friends, they may discover 100 bugs, but that 101st bug that actually is really important will only be because someone, I don't know, halfway across the world has found it and has given it back to you. That's the kind of, I suppose that's what it is in my head. Like, you need the real world experience. It's like life. You have to go out there and do it, and then you get the feedback.
Nice
Maarten,
one.
It's been a real pleasure to take time out of our days to just reflect on where we've come from, I suppose. It's a long journey, with a lot of beer, with a good bit of coding, some really good ideas, playing silly games like Infinite Craft, free up our mind of, how to combine things, some good food.
Definitely. Especially made by you, our chef.
Yeah, you're welcome. And friendship.
Yes.
Friendship.
Yeah. So thank you, Alex, for hosting this first podcast, and thank you, listeners, for joining. And I'm really looking forward to the next one. And if you have anything that you would like us to talk about, the challenges that we've seen, something that you want to learn about, and that you think that we could add some value, we are really happy to talk about that. So let us know in the comments or drop us a DM. Let's talk soon.
See you next time. And in the meantime, go to It's a Wrap. Come on, we said we wouldn't say that. I love it. Go to captainwrap.com and get presents for your friends and family. They'll love it. Bless.
Bye. Ciao.